What happens when a prince, born into unimaginable privilege and shielded from consequences his entire life, finally faces the world's judgment? Prince Andrew, once celebrated as the Queen's charming son and a decorated naval officer, now stands as the most disgraced figure in modern royal history. His story is not just one of personal downfall, but a damning indictment of unchecked power, entitlement, and the dangerous protection offered by the British monarchy. The devastating details that shattered his carefully crafted image have left the royal family scrambling to contain the damage and the public questioning the very foundation of the monarchy itself. Prince Andrew was born in 1960, the second son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, into the heart of the British royal family. From the very beginning, he was surrounded by luxury and insulated from the real world. Biographers such as Ingrid Seward recount stories of a young Andrew who, at just 5 years old, would mock palace guards, kick dogs, and swing sticks at horses. When staff tried to discipline him, he simply defied them. Even after being humiliated by being thrown into a pile of manure by frustrated grooms, no one insisted he change. This lack of boundaries and consequences set the stage for a lifetime of privilege without accountability. As he grew, Andrew's behavior only worsened. He taunted staff, provoked those around him, and learned that his power lay in his ability to provoke and survive the consequences. Even when a palace footman struck him in frustration, the Queen refused to punish the servant, believing Andrew had earned it. The lesson was clear. Andrew could get away with anything. By the 1980s, while Princess Diana captivated the world with her grace and innocence, Andrew was earning a very different reputation. Inside palace walls, he was known as spoiled, arrogant, and immature. Staff described him as demanding to the point of cruelty, with a god complex that made life miserable for those who served him. Former maid Charlotte Briggs recalled being screamed at for leaving a gap in his curtains, and staff lived in fear of moving his collection of stuffed animals out of order. Andrew's public image as Randy Andy was cemented by his playboy lifestyle. He dated actresses, models, and socialites, flaunting his wealth and status. His 1986 marriage to Sarah Ferguson quickly collapsed under the weight of mutual scandals and reckless behavior. Even after their divorce, their ongoing closeness fueled rumors of financial entanglement and further damaged his reputation. The 1990s brought new lows for Andrew. While Britain faced economic hardship and austerity, Andrew was flying around the world at taxpayer expense, earning the nickname Air Miles Andy. His extravagant spending, lavish holidays, and abuse of military perks were exposed by the press, sparking public anger. He dismissed criticism, believing his royal title made him untouchable. Inside the palace, staff noticed his obsession with status symbols and his desperation to be admired. Friends described him as gullible and easily manipulated by flattery, a flaw that would later contribute to his downfall. His career as a naval officer ended, and he was appointed as a trade envoy, a role he quickly turned into a personal empire, using his royal name for access and favors. Leaked U.S. diplomatic cables, published by outlets like The Guardian and BBC, described him as arrogant and embarrassing to British officials, further damaging his reputation. Andrew's association with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein would become the turning point in his public life. Introduced by Maxwell, Andrew was drawn to Epstein's wealth, private jets, and access to celebrities. He ignored or dismissed the rumors about Epstein's criminal behavior, blinded by the luxury and status Epstein offered. The world was horrified when a photograph emerged of Andrew with his arm around Virginia Giuffre, then a minor, with Maxwell in the background. Giuffre alleged she was trafficked by Epstein and forced into sexual encounters with powerful men, including Andrew. The palace tried to contain the story, but the evidence was damning. Andrew denied ever meeting Giuffre, but the photograph and flight logs told a different story. Andrew's decision to stay at Epstein's New York mansion even after Epstein's conviction for sex crimes shocked the public. His arrogance and lack of remorse only deepened the scandal. As more women came forward against Epstein, Andrew's name repeatedly surfaced in court filings and news reports, including those covered by the BBC, the New York Times, and court documents from the US. In 2019, under mounting pressure, Andrew agreed to a BBC Newsnight interview, hoping to clear his name. Instead, he made things worse. He claimed he had no memory of meeting Giuffre, insisted he was at a Pizza Express in Woking on the night in question, and bizarrely stated he could not sweat due to a medical condition from the Falklands War. His lack of empathy and credibility turned public opinion decisively against him. The backlash was immediate. Businesses, universities, and charities cut ties with him. The Queen approved his withdrawal from public duties, marking the first time a senior royal was forced into semi-retirement purely because of scandal. After Epstein's death and Maxwell's arrest, Andrew avoided traveling to the United States, fearing legal action. He repeatedly dodged being served court papers until Virginia Giuffre sued him in New York in 2021. The case was catastrophic. The Queen reportedly helped finance a settlement of up to £12 million, paid not as an admission of guilt, but to avoid a public trial. The world saw it as a prince writing a check to silence accusations of sex abuse. Andrew's disgrace was complete. He was stripped of his royal patronages and military titles, banned from wearing his uniform at public events, and carefully managed out of the public eye. At Queen Elizabeth's funeral, crowds booed him, and hecklers called him a sick old man. For the first time in centuries, a British prince could not appear in public without facing open hostility. In 2023, a new scandal emerged that further damaged Andrew's reputation. A Chinese businessman, Yang Tongbua, known as H6 in court papers, was banned from the UK on national security grounds. Documents revealed H6 had gained unusual access to Prince Andrew, authorized by his advisor to act on his behalf in talks with Chinese investors. Authorities believed H6 was linked to the Chinese Communist Party's influence operations and had attempted to leverage his relationship with Andrew for political and business advantage. Andrew's office claimed he cut off contact once concerns were raised, but the damage was done. The scandal raised fresh questions about his judgment and vulnerability to manipulation, further eroding any remaining trust in his character. This story was widely reported in British media, including The Times and The Guardian. The British public's patience with Andrew and the monarchy has run out. Comments and social media reflect widespread anger at the cost and conduct of the royal family, especially as ordinary people struggle with economic hardship. The monarchy's long history of protecting Andrew from consequences has come under intense scrutiny, with many calling for greater accountability and even the abolition of the institution. The rise of the internet and independent journalism has made it impossible for the royal family to suppress damaging stories.